So today we are joined by Hannah Antrobus, who is also known as the Spaniel Guru. Hi, Hannah. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
So I want to start with letting everybody know a little bit about who you are and what you do. And then we'll kind of go back in time a little bit on your history of how you became the Spaniel Guru.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Hannah. So I'm based in like Leamington Spa in Warwickshire. But I work kind of all over now, sort of via Zoom and sort of nationally and internationally with clients and things as well. So I, like most people, I started kind of, I guess, a bit more generic with sort of training and behaviour, and then I'm sure we'll deep dive into it a bit more. But I kind of niched more and more with spaniels. So yeah, I've sort of renamed the business, I think last year or maybe a little bit longer ago, to Spaniel Guru. And yeah, I just help owners try to understand and love their spaniels, really.
Love this. And we love niching. And this is why we asked you to come on, because your story is a really good one. And the successes of how came to be the Spaniel Guru and how successful that now business is for
Mm.
you. So tell us a little bit about how you started then. So you said you started out in a general kind of what we call a GP, general practitioner, dog trainer kind of
Yeah.
way. So how did you first of all get into that, and then what made you transition into spaniels?
So I guess for me, I mean, my degree is in human psychology and criminology. So I sort of did that at uni and things. I then kind of started a master's a bit more in that area, and then decided it wasn't really sort of the area I kind of wanted to kind of go into. I ended up kind of in various sort of graduate jobs at the time and things as well. But when I graduated, we'd always had dogs kind of growing up in the family. And then when I graduated, we'd had a period when our last dog passed away that we hadn't had dogs, and I was still living at home at the time. My parents were just adamantly like, no more dogs. And it was really weird going from always having them to not having them. So I sort of badgered at my parents like every day. And then about 2 years later, that my mum was to be like, I think we might get a dog. So I was like, right. So the deal was she got to choose the breed. And she said, oh, well, I think that Cocker Spaniel, I've heard they're quite calm, which is the stupidest thing she's ever said in her life, because they're not. I was like, right, okay, kind of probably did everything wrong, really. Well, definitely wouldn't do what we advise clients, but I was like, right, okay, where are Cocker Spaniels for sale before parents change their mind? So found some puppies and things, went and saw them. In hindsight, probably not sort of the best place and things, but ended up with this Cocker Spaniel that absolutely was not calm in any sense of the word. I think his life ambition was to prove my mum wrong on every count of that. And yeah, sort of ended up with him, and he had a lot of problems from very sort of early on, really behavioural and things. So had to kind of learn how to sort of work with him. Found some of my human psychology knowledge kind of came into place and things, sort of working with him and stuff as well. And then kind of worked with other people with him and just started to learn a little bit more about the industry and things as well. And I guess with Facebook and stuff, I'd always been quite active on like breed specific groups with spaniels. So I'd post a little bit about journey, little bits of training with him and things and stuff as well. And I used to start to get like tagged more and more in any kind of spaniel related kind of stuff. And then one day, someone from that Facebook group messaged me on Messenger, and they're like, "You're actually quite good at this. Have you thought about doing it as a career?" And I was like, well, not really, but. And then the next day I set up a Facebook page, and I was like, okay, cool, well, let's give this a shot, kind of thing. Um, and then I guess, like most people, when you sort of start, there's this whole massive learning thing of, you're not just a trainer in behavior, you're a marketer and you're a finance person, and there's all these 20 million jobs in one. So I think I just sort of started with, like, because I've built up a bit of rapport with some of these people in the Facebook groups and things. One of the first clients I had actually wasn't local to me at all. She was really far away, but she was essentially like, if I pay for your train fare, will you come down and spend the day with me? And I was like, yes, I will. So then what that allowed me to do is take some photograph of the dogs and start to produce a little bit of social content and things and stuff as well. So I started to kind of build up a little bit with that sort of stuff. At the same time, I think with social, I didn't really know what I was doing, and I would just post and be like, might advertise stuff for silly prices and just be like, buy this now. And occasionally some people might, but they maybe weren't my best clients. And also then sometimes people wouldn't buy because people don't, you have to build obviously that know, like, and trust and things up, and you have to build that relationship up before people buy. So then there was a lot of learning to do about how to run the business side as well as just do the job, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And where did you find that knowledge from to learn about the business side?
Yeah, so I think sort of with just reading about things, like working with people and things as well, looking at what other people were kind of doing and things as well. And then just a little bit of just, I guess, trusting my own intuition a little bit as well, and sort of seeing what kind of, felt right. But I think it's like, it's this constant thing you're sort of learning, I think, with, with business, and then you think you've learned and then you learn something else. It's classic, the same with, with training and stuff, that classic, the more you learn, the more less you think you know sometimes. But it's sort of, I think for me, it was just doing what I connected with. And then what I was always really keen to do was, as well as working in the business and doing, the client facing work, but was learning the stuff outside the business. So what kind of made the business kind of run? What were the stuff I needed to have in place? And as well as obviously doing my CPD kind of from the, the training sort of side, I felt it was really important to do the other stuff because I hadn't run a business before. I didn't really know about it. But I think, I needed to learn that side of things as well.
I love all this. There's so many different facets that you can look at along that journey, and I think there's a lot that everyone listening will connect with in going, okay, yep, we've gone out, we've tried everything, we are doing that stuff. So what would you say in your journey was some of the biggest mistakes and therefore learning opportunities were?
Oh, I think I make mistakes daily now still. I mean, and I've also got, I forgot to mention at the start, I've got a 1-year-old human now. So since he's come along, I make more mistakes than ever because my brain's barely functioning half the time. But I think with also what helped me with social media and things as well, because I have got a fairly reasonable presence, is I always was quite real and honest on social media. And for me, actually posting about the days that didn't go great, posting about the days my spaniels were most definitely spaniels and would not come out of water, or had gone and chased a bird at the end of the field, and posting, not perfection kind of thing. I think that allowed people to relate to me and to kind of drop their guard a little bit and stuff, because I think in the industry, so many clients come to us and they have a fear of being judged. And actually, if you kind of drop that kind of guard and you build that rapport up with them, it's so much easier to then actually kind of build that connection and things. So I guess for me, in terms of kind of like mistakes and things, like absolutely loads. Um, I think for me, being real and being honest and, you know, was really, really key to kind of building up that authenticity sort of element and things as well. Like, I remember doing a live on how to stop barking at the door, and the door went and mine went mental, and I was like, okay, cool, like, do you want to do not
Real
work,
life.
you know what I mean, that kind of approach. And don't get me wrong, sometimes, of course you end up getting targeted and things with that, and you will always get, especially as you start getting posts seen more and you start getting things, you will always get people that potentially troll you, or other people that train differently kind of commenting back and things as well. And I remember a while ago when I did a certain post and it got picked up by someone in Australia, a trainer that had a completely different methodology of training, shall we say. And it went pretty viral because he did this whole post about me and all this sort of stuff, and how I was the reason lots of dogs were, in a lot of issues and stuff. Um, but actually, what that kind of inadvertently did is it just boosted the post more and more. It boosted the algorithm more and more, and I ended up about 4 bookings off the back of him. So although he
Wow.
was publicly slating me and it was a really uncomfortable experience, I'm not going to say it wasn't, that kind of negativity, if you like, and that criticism from putting yourself out there, which will happen because as soon as you become more visible, you become more visible to people, and that comes with positives but also negatives. But in turn, actually, because of the way obviously the algorithm and things works, that boosted that stuff so much but I had brilliant clients from it. So it's kind of, I guess, sort of switching that, that mindset around on it and things a little bit more. But I think in terms of mistakes, if I think early on, I think trying to serve everyone and everything, being like, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, yes, I know this, charging way too cheap, because what happens is time, but gyms I picked up weren't as willing to commit. They weren't as willing to do the work. They were expecting a lot quicker fixes. So I don't really do like a set amount of sessions or anything now, because I feel like it's hard to give that promise. Every dog is an individual. There's lots of reasons behind the behaviour and things and stuff as well. And also I would have to take on, 3-4 times the amount of clients to earn the same amount, charging slightly higher. So from a strategy point of view and from a time perspective point of view, that didn't really make any sense to me. And I feel, as trainers and things, we obviously want to give our clients the best. We want to give them the best information. And CPD is brilliant, and obviously it's really needed, but no trade or whatever knows absolutely every single thing about, that area. We need to kind of know when to learn and when to invest, but also not feel we have to absorb and be able to do everything. So for me, I kind of realized there were certain areas I enjoyed more, I was better at, and I had no issue, again, collaborating with others or, kind of referring on and things as well when I needed to.
Ooh, there's quite a lot in this. There's a few areas to delve into, I think. So, where do I want to start?
I knew you'd find this really interesting.
It is really interesting. I love it. I love it because it's real life, and I think it's really it's humbling to know that there are trainers out there doing incredible things when the majority of the industry feels like it's failing miserably in terms of there's so many dog businesses out there that are going, I'm just going to jack it in. I'm just going to go and get a air quote proper job. I just can't do this anymore because I'm not earning enough. I'm burnt out. All of the stuff that we hear on a regular and consistent basis.
I actually had a voice note this morning from somebody saying they were getting a proper job. So
yes,
it happens all the time.
We did.
For us.
Yeah, it's happening several times a day, I feel. And what I find quite interesting and what I'd like to almost explore with you is how did you personally get to that conclusion around that price point? Because I think money for a lot of people, but definitely very much so in this industry, is seen as a dirty word. Like, how dare you make some cash to pay your bills and pay for these CPD? How dare you? Because these poor dogs and these poor people that can't afford it, you are now doing them a disservice. So what was your journey specifically around money, and was it ever an issue to you, I suppose, in those early stages of feeling like you have to be putting a lower price point on things?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the money mindset is a massive one, and I think in the industry in general, like you say, there's a lot of people that will look at understandably what other people in their area and stuff charge, which is great information, but it just it depends what your personal needs are, and not just I need to be able to pay the mortgage or something. Like, personally for me, I want a career where yes, I can pay all my bills comfortably, but also I can I can treat my little one to something. I can go on a nice holiday. I can enjoy other things that I would enjoy in a different kind of work environment and stuff as well. And I think we also spend a lot to achieve our qualifications and achieve our courses and things as well. So I feel like we sometimes, if we we undervalue that, and we reflect that in our charge, we're not valuing all that work we kind of put into it and things as well. And, if we think of what other trade people kind of potentially maybe charge, I'm not comparing, but, they don't justify their price. Their price is just what it is. It's a reflection of the skills and, what you're going to do. And as long as when you're working with someone, you're withholding to those principles that you took the client on, and you're providing that level of service and stuff. And for me, as I said, like when I charged, really cheap, I'd have to do 5 times the amount of clients to kind of earn the same amount. And I don't have that much time, especially with, you know, a 1-year-old and things now. Now, do I ever still feel uncomfortable discussing price? Yeah, because I think, as exactly like you said, I think it's such a thing that's drilled into us, especially in this industry. And I think if we go on social, and depending what you're following, obviously you guys don't do this, but you have to be careful what information you're absorbing. Because if you're in all these different groups that are saying charge cheap, you can't charge that, people won't pay that, you will start to believe that yourself. And that's the strategy you will sort of take on. If you surround yourself with the people that believe it, and you invest in learning with the people that support that way of thinking and stuff, then in turn, your belief starts changing about it and things as well. And I've never, you know, when I've worked with people and things as well, like the price is just kind of the price. So when I'm on a call or something now, I kind of just say the price and I'm like, cool, so would you like to book in? When would work for you? I don't kind of start justifying the price. Obviously, I provide them, you know, information of what it includes and things as well. But I think sometimes we can just become a bit awkward talking about price, and it can kind of become that sort of really silent point on a call. But on that note, it's also okay to pause and wait for them to speak as well. You don't need to then, you know, fill it up with kind of information and things. So I think in the industry in general, the money mindset thing is a big thing. And also, I think you potentially get a lot of judgment from other professionals on it. It's not something people want to openly discuss. And I think that needs to change, because we're providing, you know, a high level of this, we're skilled, we're thousands on acquiring a dog in the first place, especially if they're certain breeds. So why should we not, you know, invest, you know, our pricing to reflect that?
Yeah. So refreshing to hear this.
It is. And I think you are absolutely right. In fact, I feel like we weave it into most of our podcast episodes, and pretty much every time we go on lives or anything we do, because money, it isn't a dirty word. It is a value exchange, exactly like you put it. It is what somebody is. People will always shop on price if they can't see the value in something.
Yeah.
They need to be able to understand and see an outcome that they're going to get it. And I think we are all incredibly, I want to say naive, but it may not be the right word, in assuming that we almost hold the power in thinking someone won't pay that, or they will pay that, or like allowing ourselves to even think that we even know what is cheap and what is expensive to them. At the end of the day, it's just digits. It's that value exchange. In fact, one of the things that we've talked about before is that the local Greggs from around the studio where we're at, they charged, what was it, like £2.50 or something for a bottle of Coke? And I was like, absolutely not. I am not paying that. That is ridiculous for a bottle of Coke. However, like a few hours later, I think we dropped several £1,000s that we didn't have on a mentor because we really wanted to work with them. Now, I can assure you, I definitely had £2.50 in my bank account that I could have paid for that bottle of Coke, but I didn't see the value in it. Yeah. And this is where I think for a lot of us as business owners, we put our own thoughts and feelings around money, and we totally project it onto everybody else and assume that they either can't afford it, or it's too expensive, or you're not worth it. And then you go and do this investment cycle where you're just going to keep learning more CPD to make yourself feel better. And actually something you said whilst you was talking was, or how I'd taken it was, we almost end up doing a lot of this to impress or maybe get approval from other people in the industry, whereas they're not paying your bills.
I think we do it because I think imposter syndrome is obviously a big thing, and I think it's a big thing in the industry. And I'm not going to say I never suffer from imposter syndrome, because of course I do. You know, especially if you care about something and you're launching something new, you're always like, oh, is this going to work? Am I going to get anyone that kind of turns up and that sort of thing? But I think sometimes with that, it's like the CPD and stuff, it's almost like sometimes people will do lots of it to try and quieten down that imposter syndrome. And I think sometimes if you try and absorb everything, you almost increase the imposter syndrome, because your brain no one is personally meant to be able to teach every single thing and know every single thing. That would be totally exhausting. It's about knowing those areas that you're really enthusiastic about and you enjoy, because you're going to project that onto the client. And if the client's having fun and the client's enjoying training with you, they're gonna get that value and things and stuff as well. And like I think I said at the beginning, it's for me, I think a lot of people worry about the competition. I mean, this area is surrounded with other trainers and behaviourists and stuff, and really good people as well. Like, there's brilliant people and there's different people that niche in different areas. And for me, it's not about competition, it's about collaboration. And also, how can we work together? Sometimes, I've had sessions where I've even brought another trainer in on the session because they've had a particular area which I know for this dog and client that's going to be beneficial for them and things as well. And for me, my thing is pet spaniels, but like pet spaniels, pet spaniel crosses. But obviously, if someone wanted to do like really intense gun dog training or something like that, I would direct them to someone else, because that's not my area. But that doesn't make me a failure because I'm not doing that area. That's not my area to kind of teach and things as well. So I think people just need to, from a money perspective and from an everything perspective, not worry so much about competition and just think, how can I maybe work these people? I'm always happy to meet up with people for a coffee or offer them a little bit of advice on the phone and things as well. I mean, there's God knows how many spaniels in the world. I can't help them all. I don't want to help them all. I don't have time to help them all. And I think from a pricing perspective as well, if you are obviously priced a little bit higher and things as well, of course you're going to get people that do say no on price. But equally, it means you don't sort of take on everything. So you can be a bit more selective on what you want to do and things as well.
Yeah. I want to just go back to something you said a bit earlier when you were talking about the money bit initially, and you said it's dependent on who you surround yourself with. And if you're hanging out in these Facebook groups with trainers and everyone's saying, oh God, you can't charge that. Somebody who's been through that then, that kind of did do the normal route and then you've come through it and you're the other side. What, I suppose, two ways to look at it. What advice would you give somebody who is wanting to make that change but having that doubt creep in? And where do you advise kind of getting that support from? Like, who does that support, what does that support look like from you specifically, just from your perspective really on how you dealt with that?
So you mean sort of from a kind of a pricing sort of perspective and things?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think with the surrounding yourself with the right people and things, I think it's just because you and as great as social media and everything is, obviously the algorithm picks up on what you're looking for, what you're hearing, what you're like. The amount of times I go on my phone and what I've had a conversation about is now on my phone. It's crazy. So I think if you constantly absorb that, like that stuff, that's what you're going to start, that's what you're going to start believing, and that's what you're going to start seeing because everyone's sort of saying it. So I think it's finding places where people are keen to grow and they're keen to kind of progress in their career, and it's not seen as something that's negative and things and stuff as well. And I think you mentioned it earlier. I think for some reason this, working with dogs, dogs are people's best friend and all that sort of thing. Of course they are, but sometimes it's almost seen as a charity career, and I don't really think it should be. Obviously, we can all kind of do stuff that we want to kind of do for charity, or we could offer a reduced rate or that sort of stuff. But I think we just need to kind of, this is a career, like lots of other people have a career and things as well. You can still be passionate and you can still care and you can still be ethical without feeling like you have to give everything away and be charitable almost. So I think it's sort of, it's being careful the information you absorb, being careful little things like, how do you start your day? Do you just start it doom scrolling and reading all the negative stuff on certain Facebook groups, or do you start it by listening to, like, I don't know, your guys' podcast or something for some reason, where people are talking about the stuff they're kind of doing and stuff and things as well? How do you finish your day? Because I find things like that make a difference. If you start your day with something positive and you finish your day with something positive, your whole mindset kind of sort of starts to shift and things and stuff as well. And the worst thing people can do is say no, and people will say no. People say no to me lots of times. I've had lots of rejection. It's fine. It's not, with rejection, I think becomes comes progression. And progression doesn't equal perfection for me. Progression is just, being able to continue building and doing what you kind of enjoy doing and things as well. But if people say no, that no is fine. It's not the end of the world. At some point, someone is going to say yes. So if you're thinking about a price point, like, you can just try it, and you can try it. And if they say no, it doesn't mean the next 5 people are going to say no. So sometimes you just have to step outside your comfort zone, do something that feels uncomfortable, and sometimes you're pleasantly just surprised by the result.
Yeah, great advice. I love the what you do first thing and last thing. I think that affects people such a lot, doesn't it?
I love that we're in the first thing of the day.
I know, and there's that as well. But yes, but yeah, that makes a huge difference, doesn't it? If you are just instantly waking up and going to that negative place, that's how you're going to frame the whole day, isn't it? And I feel like that is such important advice for people who are, we've got people that we're working with or people that are in our community that are like, I really like the idea of it. I get it. I want to do better and I want to offer something, but I'm pulled back in with all these negative comments and people around me. And it's such, I don't know, it's such a hard thing, I think, for people to overcome, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is really challenging. And I was thinking, actually, so obviously doing what we do, we spend a lot of time in these Facebook groups doing lots of research gathering and speaking to, essentially our target audience, which are those businesses that want to be doing better and delivering better service and having a better lifestyle and stuff. But the algorithm will pick it up, and then all of a sudden, like, our news feeds are flooded with all this negativity. And honestly, like, some days I'm like, right, I'm actually going to purposefully go and seek people that inspire me, and I'm going to purposefully spend time just holding the phone on that particular post for a while. So it kind of like re-energizes and resets my news feed, because it's so easy to be brought down with it. And this is the stuff we practice every single day.
I was going to say, we should be experts at being able to do this, and it still affects us. Really,
yeah, it's really challenging. So having that awareness and the ability to recognize it and then go, right, okay, what am I actually going to do about it? Because I think I've seen some people go to extreme measures of, right, I'm just going to come off social media altogether. I'm like, okay, cool, that's fine. You have to do what's right for you. However, in our opinion, it doesn't always need to be that drastic. You can tweak it so that it starts showing you more stuff. You can choose to unfollow and still remain friends. You can still, there's a lot of stuff that you can do to put yourself in a better headspace. Or even sometimes maybe it is just having a little break or changing those habits and patterns and going, right, okay, first thing, I'm not going to look at social media. I won't do it. I will go and do something else instead. I'll walk the dogs and I'll listen to a podcast. Hint, hint, wink, wink, maybe this one. And do something that is going to give you an energetic boost. I mean, bloody hell, poor Vic, most mornings, she'll know if I've been listening to a podcast, because I'm like, oh my God, like this, and this. And I'm like, woomph, like massive ball of energy.
But it gives you that feeling, that fire in your belly though, doesn't it? Once you've listened to something that's really inspiring, it makes you, let's start that day like that. And it really does make such a difference. So I think it's that ongoing work, isn't it? And I know for us, like recently we came out of one of our business mentorships, and we had a bit of a break and we felt a bit flat for a little while, and we didn't really know why. Like, we didn't put our finger on it at the time. And then we went to a business conference with a massive difference the other week, and we were like, oh, we weren't surrounded by these people for a little while. And it really like brought our mood down and really affected us. And like now we've reinvested into something else, which is going to be a really good direction for the business. Already I can feel myself like, we've got this for another 12 months now, and these are the people we need to be around. So is that the same for you? Do you make sure that I know you have invested, but is that kind of same of concept for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, from the criticism side that you spoke to, and obviously, like the algorithm, and, people get worried about being judged and criticized and stuff the more they're visible on social media. And you will get judged and you will be criticized, because that is social media, and especially as you become more visible, especially as you post things. But again, it depends what you're posting and obviously what you want to post. Now, I can't even the amount of time people have tried to message me and ask me to post something condemning another trainer or, you know, shouting out another method. And of course, it's not the way I teach, but personally, my social media isn't necessarily for other professionals, it's for owners. So I don't really want to just instigate loads of drama for the sake of it. Yes, I know that's going to cause traction, but I don't necessarily kind of need the stress and things sort of from that. So I think sometimes people also think, you know, that they need to post about all this kind of really correct dog training stuff, which, yeah, of course, but your kind of your client doesn't really want to hear about the quadrants in dog training. They just want to know that you can train the dog, which, you know, so I think it's also just not overthinking the posting. It's just posting about, you know, what do you enjoy doing? You know, what are you working on? Like, even like a little bit just general day-to-day life stuff. People love just hearing about like my life and things and all the really boring stuff that kind of happens and stuff and things as well. So I think yeah, it's getting comfortable with sometimes being uncomfortable, I think.
Yeah, one of our favourite sayings.
It's a great.
And sorry, on your note about the conference and kind of going to events and stuff, yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I said, I've got a 1-year-old now, and the last year I've definitely been present in the business-ish, but nowhere near what I would be, and that's probably been a conscious choice and things as well, with spending a bit of time with him and things. But I've definitely noticed, like, since having that time away a little bit more, I'm questioning things a bit more. That imposter syndrome might creep in. I've definitely not been anywhere near as active on my social. Now, because I've kind of built up a kind of presence, work has kind of continued, the business has sort of stayed in profit and all of that sort of stuff. But the growth probably hasn't been on the same trajectory because that hasn't necessarily been the input I've kind of put into it. So I think exactly like you said, you know, going out and having these conversations and, you know, going to conferences and going and doing some of the stuff that kind of you enjoy, that's going to respike, you know, that ambition and that passion and things as well, which your clients in turn are going to pick up on that.
Really nice. Actually, something you said there, I think, is another really important topic to discuss, because I think for a lot of people, when we hear these types of conversations being had and the perception is, oh wait, hold on, there's two successful businesses on this podcast right now, like with yours and ours. They are, air quote, successful in however you deem success. Like they are turning a profit, they are established, we've got presence in social media across the globe. However, life still happens. So I've got a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old as well. And I home educate and all the stuff that comes with that.
And she's just finished a uni degree.
Oh God.
Well, she's got 2 exams left.
Yes, 2 exams and then we're done. But you know, like, life happens. And I think it's really important for people to still hear that, yes, these businesses are successful. However, a lot of work goes into making sure that it is ticking over, and life still happens, and we still have dips when you take the foot off the gas, and it's okay for that to be okay, and it's okay that sometimes it does dip, and it's okay that sometimes it peaks. And it's all of these ands, because I don't think you can have it either or. It's the journey. It's a natural thing that is going to happen. You never know what life is going to throw at you. You never know what the economy is going to throw at you. Like, the pandemic taught us all that people had to pivot and change and adapt really fucking quickly.
Yeah.
And those who had the skill set to be able to do so flourished during that time. And those that didn't have that skill set and that creativity to be able to adapt and bend and flex folded. And that's not just in this industry, that was seen across everything. So I think it's just a really important point to note that even you saying, like, you've had that awareness that, you know, your business is still ticking over, it's still profitable whilst you've taken this purposeful leave of absence, so to speak, but you've put the groundwork in so that it can do that, and you've got that choice and that bend and flex available to you. But the awareness bit, because again, like, if we chose to go, well, do you know, okay, I've had a baby, I obviously need some time off, I obviously want to spend some time with new said child now. However, if the business feels like it's tanking, then I have a choice now that I suddenly have to step into that CEO role again whilst being a mum of a newborn and figuring that shit out.
Yeah.
And that's a real truth that I think some of us, I don't even know if we take it for granted. I almost think it's completely overlooked in how much goes into maintaining that business.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think, I mean, the reason I guess, well, I've sort of spoke about obviously the Spaniel side, but I guess one of the big reasons I ended up even in this industry was was Kobe, who I had, the Spaniel that came to me with lots of issues, and I always had to kind of rehabilitate him and learn. And then I worked with different people, and some were using quite harsh methods, and I was like, there's got to be a nicer way than this. And I just kind of continued to learn. But I guess, posting his story, and like my followers got to know him and things, and he was really, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be here if I didn't have him. And he's kind of inspired the whole business. And then, early last year, I lost him incredibly suddenly. At the time, I was, I think, about 8 months pregnant. So he was fine, and then literally within a space of an hour he wasn't fine, and he was put to sleep. And then a few weeks after that, my other dog ended up in Willows and Solihull for like emergency life-saving surgery, and then I had to rehabilitate him for like 4 months at the same time as having a newborn. And then at the same time I was having my son Albie, there were lots of kind of complications, and the whole thing was quite traumatic, and I ended up in a load of therapy at the same time as kind of trying to build the business back up and things. So life definitely happened, and it happened really, really hard. And my focus wasn't able to be as much on the business, but I tried to just kind of put in what I could put in. But I had to learn I couldn't put in what I would usually kind of put in. And I guess for me, if we talk about success, I think, we can have a different idea of what success is. But for me, I had to reframe what success was. So I have managed, the 6 kind of figure thing, and I have managed that kind of level and that growth and stuff. But for me, when I relook at it now, my current priority is obviously having a business, keeping my clients happy, having the different streams to the business and things as well, but also having time with my son, and having time to be able to spend with Bailey, and having time to be able to do other stuff. So for me at the moment, like, obviously income is really, really important, but so is freedom, and so is time. And I think that's the reason so many of us set up our businesses in the first place. So going back to your pricing question and all of that sort of stuff, if you do kind of charge appropriately and things as well, it gives you a different freedom, and it gives you a different kind of time perspective and things as well. So you're not constantly, chasing income, but what are your values as a business owner? What do you kind of want? So for me, it's kind of been this whole sort of journey, I guess, over the last year of redefining success. And yes, I could work 7 days a week, but I don't want to. I want to have time with my little one. I want to go and do this other stuff. But when I'm working, I want to kind of be focused and things as well. So exactly like you said, you absolutely sometimes, I think, do have kind of highs as a business owner. You also have lows. You have life that happens. You have unexpected bills. I remember early on when I started my business, getting to the petrol station and going to pay for petrol, and I didn't have enough money in my account. And I was like, oh God, well, something needs to change here. And then, a couple of months later, I needed to buy something, and I just brought it outright. And I was like, well, that's a slight change. But I think, yeah, the business owner hat and the mum hat and all the different roles that come in, I think for me, what I've been learning a lot is, initially I was striving for this perfect balance with everything. And I think there's no such thing as a perfect balance, but there's boundaries. So for me, it's boundaries, not balance. What do I want? How do I want to run my business? And how can I kind of, I guess, project it to fulfill that as such?
Yeah. And I love that sliding scale of success as well, because we always say this, like, success is individual to every person, and it's also individual to your circumstance at that particular time of your life. And you've just, explained that absolutely perfectly. And actually, on hearing what you've just said there, I would deem success that you went through all of that shit with your dogs and having your son, having all the trauma, and the business still stood. I would go like, that is a huge success. Yeah. So at that particular time, that was a big measure of that success, because you've already built it up and you've put those foundations in. So that's something to be really, really proud about.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I love it. And I'm glad you picked up on that, because everyone does have their own version of success. And for some, it is totally money driven until you realize the real reason you're chasing that. And I think this is where you can surround yourself in groups where people are, you know, doing incredible, and sometimes it feels completely unachievable things, where you hear people saying like, I've just done 20k months and 30k months and all of this in some of the rooms that we hang out in doing dog training, and you're like, what? But if you're trying to strive for that when actually you'd be happy with a consistent 2k a month, why are you trying to strive for that 20-30k? Because those strategies and those tactics and all of the stuff that that person and that business is implementing will not work for you, and you don't have to do that. And again, it can slide and change and evolve. And, you know, even in Canine Business Academy's first year of existence, it was a hustle year. It was full on, right, foot to the ground, full speed ahead, strategically and tactically, and all of that. But very time heavy investments, lots of financial investments, all of that stuff. And in its second year, we're like, oh, okay, we can breathe a little bit. We can take our foot off the gas somewhat. And then we'll go into another season and it'll be, right, okay, foot down again. We've got to do this whilst still managing life that happens around it. Like it's been Easter half term at the moment. So me personally, I'm 2 weeks, even though I home ed anyway, I utilise some of the forest schools and stuff because I don't want 7 days a week. I love my kids, but 7 days is a bit much when I want to run a business, because I love doing what I do.
Yeah, I just had no childcare for like the last 10 days, and I usually have 3 days a week, so I can do some bits and pieces. And I'm like, he's back in childcare today, and I'm like, whew.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
As well when I've got him, but I mean, like, it's you do the basics of what you can do, but your brain sometimes just doesn't work and things as well. So yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah, and it's great. And do you know what? I actually saw a post the other day saying that if you are in a position in your life where if you've got kids, if you can pick them up, drop them off, be at all the events and be there for them as and when needed, you've already made it. You can swap that out for if you haven't got kids. Like if you want to be there for your dogs more, if you want to be for a family member, if you want to go on holiday at the drop of a hat, if you want to, whatever it is, if you can do the things that you want to do, you've already made it. So what are you actually striving for? And I think we sometimes forget this, and I think we get so caught up in the whole, and I think a lot of it does stem back to money and not pricing appropriately. I think it does come from feeling overwhelmed by trying to apply strategies that don't suit the business model that we are trying to create. I think it comes from trying to compare yourself to other people out there doing completely different things. I think it comes back down to us caring about things that shouldn't concern us. Like, you do your thing over there. And I always hated the phrase stay in your lane, but I've got a newfound love for it, in the sense that it's just do what you do so epically well that you don't need to care about what anybody else is doing, because all that time and energy you're spending on worrying about that person is time and energy you're not spending doing the thing that you love.
Absolutely.
And that's why I love your business model, in that you have completely niched down. And coming back to what you were saying earlier about becoming that expert and realizing that none of us are ever going to be an expert in everything. And ironically, and I've always questioned this, you know, when you go to like these CPD conferences and you've obviously got expert after expert after expert, and it's like, oh, okay, right, I need to absorb that bit of information. And we're going to talk about, I don't know, all the aggression stuff. And then we're going to go over here, and then we're going to learn about like some free work stuff. And then we're going to do this. And I'm like, oh my God, I sound like a panty cocker spaniel myself.
You're going to say golden retriever, actually.
But I think we actually forget that all of those experts that we're listening to are not listening. They're not listening to everybody else in that room and thinking, oh my God, I need to learn that and implement that in my business. They're listening to it with curiosity and going, that's interesting. Not for me. Very interesting though. And I like what you're doing. You keep doing you. Whereas we as the consumer are going, oh my God, how can I do that and that and that and that?
I think if we go to those things as well and we feel overwhelmed, and then we try and take it all back and put it, you know, advertise it all and try and do all of that, then in turn it makes sense we're going to make clients and prospective people feel very overwhelmed, because they're like, well, 1 minute she's talking about this, and 1 minute she's talking about that. So I feel like, I guess with niching, it helps me because there's always common things people come to me with spaniels, and maybe I see it more because obviously I'm working with a lot of spaniels rather than necessarily being a breed thing, but it helps me structure my CPD. You know, if I'm seeing the same thing, I'm getting asked loads, or I'm seeing the same thing with spaniels. I mean, loose leaf walking is probably the biggest thing with spaniels ever. People sort of struggle with behaviour wise. Resource guarding is pretty prevalent and things as well. But then I'm looking at what do I enjoy. So, again, separation anxiety and things is quite a big thing with the cockapoos and stuff sometimes, but I don't personally love separation anxiety. So I'll happily refer that on to someone I sort of know that kind of niches in it and things as well. But it allows me niching, it allows me to structure my social posts, allows me to structure my emails and my marketing, and also what do I go and learn kind of about and things as well, rather than just trying to be good at everything, trying to focus on, I guess, allowing my knowledge to be in those areas that I can see are in more need from my client base.
I love that you are really aware of those things as well, because even though you are niching into spaniels, you're so clearly going, I don't deal with everything to do with that breed. So
No,
if it's gun dog specific stuff, go to your gun doggy,
absolutely.
people, go and to your separation anxiety person. And I just think I think it takes someone who knows themselves so well and is so comfortable with what they're doing, and that you're doing it obviously really well, that you don't feel that fear of going, well, I could just do a little bit of separation anxiety, I could do a bit of gun dog work. But I just think, again, it comes down to that, like, be you, do what you really love, and focus and like hone in on that so much that I think it all comes down to everything we've been talking about with the fear of judgment and the comparing yourselves to others. I think it always comes down to that. People haven't done the work on themselves enough, haven't worked out what their purpose is, haven't got really, like, haven't spoken to themselves enough internally and understood themselves. And I know that sounds a bit weird, but I think that that's what we need to do sometimes. And I think just like we're a big fan of just get everything out your brain and let's just get it on paper, and let's like, it looks like a jumbled mess, and let's see if we can figure it out and make some clarity out of it. Yeah. And I think if more people just got everything out of their brains and just saw it, and there's such a lot to be said for seeing words in front of you. And I don't know if you feel like that, but I think it's just that, how can we clear the brain? How can we get the spaghetti junction that we hear quite often, that people say it's like a spaghetti junction, all the ideas, and just get them down? And would you say that's something that you can resonate with?
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple of things I find that sometimes, because I'm a bit of a mixture. I'm a visual learner, but I'm also like an auditory learner and that sort of thing. So sometimes like I'll voice note myself stuff, or I've even done it before where I've set up a Zoom meeting and it's just been me rambling about loads of crap. I've recorded it and then I've listened to it back and I've been like, okay, cool. What did I mention more? What's my kind of thoughts and things as well? And that's worked okay. And then sometimes from just a social point, and again, for me, I found like with like videos and stuff, when I was pre-recording stuff, I would rewatch and I would overanalyze it and I would overthink it all the time. So it was kind of scary as it is, like for me, actually just going live on Facebook and just rambling about whatever kind of came to my mind. I think helped from the authenticity point of view and just being a real kind of person and things. And I found sometimes, like if a little bit like you said, this is like just quite a general chat. You guys aren't sitting there like with clipboards interviewing me and things, but it just flows a little bit better if you don't kind of overthink it and stuff and things as well. So I think, it's looking at like how do you kind of learn and sort of what sort of style kind of works and things. And people are going to learn better at different times of the day. So like you said, it might be starting your walk with a podcast or something kind of positive and things. And then it might be scheduling time in your day where you sit down for a coffee and you listen to, I don't know, a song you really like or something like that. So just kind of adding that sort of positive momentum sort of through the day and things.
It's great advice.
It is great advice, isn't it?
I like it. What would you say then, if we try and wrap everything up? Because I feel like there's so much in this and we could do a whole day on this.
I'm not sure people want to listen to me for a whole day.
You'll be amazed.
They would.
You will be amazed. Because I love it because it's just so relatable. Like you're out there, you're doing the thing, and it's working. And it's such a nice story to hear, like we've mentioned throughout this episode, that it feels really unusual because of how much everything gets bogged down with all the crap that's out there. So it's actually really nice to actually hear it. And I know people will really resonate with everything that you're saying. So what advice, if anything, and I hate the word advice, but what would your top tips be then for people listening that may be feeling a little bit stuck or are potentially wanting to do something a bit different but feel a little bit scared? What would your top tips be?
So in regards to niching?
Anything in their business. So to get them from feeling a bit crappy about it all to going, oh, okay, I'm going to do this. And yeah, potentially with that niching bit.
Mm-hmm. So I think as I said before, getting slightly, I guess, feeling, stepping outside your comfort zone necessarily isn't a bad thing. And if you don't like it, you can jump straight back into that comfort zone and things as well. I think it's the comparison analysis paralysis kind of thing, is a big thing, isn't it? And I think, by no means do I think I'm the best trainer or behaviour person in the whole world. I haven't got the best mechanics in my life to teach heel work and all that sort of stuff. But like I said, I'm more than happy, my clients aren't typically strict obedience people that really care about the really intense intricacies of mechanics. Obviously, I can do what they need to kind of do. But if, they want to learn really intense mechanics to do with spaniels or something, I'd send them to someone like Jane Arden, or, do you know what I mean? Like, not being afraid to reach out to other professionals and, collaborate or ask them for a coffee, or most people will be happily to meet up with you and things and stuff as well. In regards to niching, I think what helped with me, because obviously I've got a membership and things as well, which has done really well. I did have an audience before I launched a membership. I think a lot of people, I hate the term passive income, because I think a lot of people think memberships and things are this kind of passive income, but there's not really passive to it. It might kind of get that way, but it always needs a level of kind of maintenance, but it takes a lot of work to kind of build that up. So it doesn't happen overnight. It's kind of building that audience up and, but really focus. If you're enjoying yourself and you enjoy the topic you're talking about and you enjoy teaching it, you will portray that to your prospective clients and things as well. I think also investing where appropriate. So it's always scary spending money in business. Don't just throw money at things because you think you need to know it, or that's what you're seeing on social that you need to know. Look at your business, look at yourself and think, what are my clients asking me for? What am I seeing more with the dogs I'm working with? Am I feeling a bit more uncomfortable in certain cases? Would I like to learn more about them, or am I happy to refer on and things and stuff as well, and things. And I think just, getting comfortable with approaching other people and not just kind of seeing everyone as sort of competition and things, and not being worried. I guess rejection always is going to affect people, but not fearing rejection, because rejection is just life. I remember when people initially unsubscribed from my mailing list, I was like, oh God, no, what have I said? And now I'm like, okay, cool, well, they're probably not the right client for me and things and stuff as well. So I think, don't be, if you're looking to niche and things, don't be afraid of niching. I think a lot of people think as soon as you only, say you do one breed, you're going to lose all your inquiries. For me, I've never had a issue. I've found, if anything, it almost attracts more inquiries and it attracts people, not necessarily local. So then it opens it up more for Zoom and things as well. I remember 2 cases. One, I think I said to you before, but during COVID, I went out to a farm to see this spaniel, and I got there and this dog's chasing and herding my car around the field. And I got out and I'm like, where's the spaniel? And they're like, there. And I'm like, pretty sure that's a border collie. And then the other one, I remember getting an inquiry form, and they were like, he's a greyhound, but he's very like a spaniel, nothing like a spaniel. I had people saying that they're spaniels because they still want to kind of work with me and stuff. So it was funny. It didn't necessarily put them off. In a way, it kind of attracted more people to want to work with me and things as well.
I'd say that's like celebrity status when people are lying of what breed they've got to work with.
All the time. It was just quite funny, but and I think just being real on social. If you want to do social and you want to post, just try not to overthink it, and just post about the bad days and things as well. Post about the training cues your dog hasn't listened to all the time. I think the biggest thing that affects people from reaching out and stuff is the fear of judgment. And I think if we can like lessen that fear, then clients are way more likely to approach you and things as well. And I think for me, I never necessarily promise kind of quick fixes or it's going to be fixed like this, because it's an ongoing kind of process and stuff. And I think, you know, if we can get that idea in the client's mind and stuff, it just becomes much more sort of receptive and things. The other thing sometimes I do, because again, initially I wasn't necessarily super comfortable like on Zoom and things, but during the pandemic, obviously I had to pivot and stuff. But when I do like calls or something with a client or something, if someone's inquiring on something, I might just do a quick Zoom, because face to face you can build up a rapport and things. And if it is a Zoom client, you're already getting them on Zoom without the sort of objection to Zoom and things. So yeah, they're probably the things I would sort of say. But I think it's just going back to, why did you start the business? What's your why? Exactly like you said, what's your measure of success? Don't compare to anyone else. Don't look at what anyone else is doing. What do you want to achieve for your business? And what are your kind of first steps to achieving it?
Do you know what? Something that's running through everything you've pretty much said in this episode is, I feel like you're really client led. You've mentioned clients so often in the respect of what the client needs, what the client wants, what services you're offering. Are they the right thing for the client? And even just that, what you were saying about the Zooms, building up rapport, getting that kind of nurturing, like it's so much about the client. And I think that is something that's really, really forgotten. Like we do this for them. And so I think,
sadly aren't paying the invoices.
They're not, are they? They're
and
not.
I think maybe that's where, you know, obviously I've done a degree in human psychology. I've worked in a lot of like people facing roles and stuff, but it's funny, a lot of people sometimes say, oh, I want to work with dogs because I don't like people. You can't do this job if you don't like people, because you've got to be able to build the rapport and the trust and things with the clients, because they're the ones sort of investing with you. So, you know, just having a chat with people, just sort of not overthinking it, just talking to them about their dog, letting them talk to you and things, that goes a long way to just building that trust up.
Do you know what? I had a moment then that I was imagining I was Stephen Bartlett for a moment, because when you said that, I just wanted to go, amen.
I'm glad some of this is making sense, because I've been up since 4 a.m. today, so.
Does it a lot?
Yeah. No, I love that. I think it's that client thing is so missing in a lot of dog trainers' worlds. They almost like get so absorbed in it all. They go like, oh yeah, it is about the clients, isn't it? We're like, yeah.
Yeah, we've got a long way to go in this industry, but I feel we are chipping away, and day by day it'll keep moving in the direction that it's supposed to. I think 2025 is definitely a year where the realization is starting to eke in a little bit. We're doing our bit as much as we can. So it is about that personal brand. It is about connecting with people. It is about understanding that person, that individual, and realizing that, sorry, you are not in the business of dogs. You are definitely in the business of people.
100%.
Just quickly, do you get many inquiries from other dog trainers asking you these kind of questions, like how you got to where you were? Do you get people reaching out?
Yeah, a little bit. As I said, I haven't been as active on social over the last year, so I definitely need to do a little bit more to, I think because of the background work I've done, I've still kind of kept my presence, and obviously I've got systems in place. I've still had sales, and amazingly, you know, the business is still sailing profit and all of that sort of stuff. But I've definitely noticed the drop off, because obviously I've kind of dropped off and things and stuff as well. But yeah, and like I said, I'm always happy to, you know, talk to people, or, you know, if people are local and things, like meet for a coffee. And like, I'm very just kind of, you know, I will happily just talk and I will share things, and nothing of what I necessarily teach is, you know, brand new information and things. It's just, I think, going back to what we were saying about talking to people that, you know, don't see growth as a bad thing, don't see wanting to be successful in your career as a bad thing and stuff as well. And I think when people first start out, there's just so much information that's thrown at them. And there's so much, like, the more you learn, like, you get more excited to learn more, and then the less you feel you know, and then it kind of goes in a spiral. I think stepping away and, like you say, focusing on the sources that inspire you and it make you want to kind of achieve more and things as well, and just kind of quieting down that sort of noise and things as well. But yeah, I absolutely have had, like, conversations with people and things.
Yeah, because
Not that
you're
I
in our
also know it all.
yeah, because you're in our Facebook group, aren't you now? And I
Yes.
think that when this episode airs, you're probably going to get some people reach out to you and go
Yeah,
like,
more than
I'd love to have a chat. So if you're
Yeah.
open to that, then I'm sure
yeah, of course,
you
of
will get
course.
bombarded, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely fine.
Amazing.
Okay.
Do your bit.
One last question for you then. And we hope it doesn't stump you too much, because it does stump a lot of people, this one. Okay. So you know the premise of what we're trying to do here in the podcast and in our group and everything. So who do you know that would be a suitable candidate to come onto our podcast and spread their message? So whether that's another dog trainer doing amazing things, or whether it's anyone in the business world, who would you recommend that we get on here?
I think of a few people, but you've either already know them, or you've already had them, or you kind of, I can see you've got plans to have them. So
Who would you have said that we've already had on then, so we can big them up?
who's the social media one? Is it Charlotte?
Charlotte,
yeah.
yeah.
Seen a lot of her stuff recently. There's some other names that have completely gone out of my head and things as well.
Yeah, it does always put people on the spot, this question. Apologies.
Yeah. I mean, big trainer names obviously are people sort of like you know, I know Jane Arden and things done podcasts before, and she's sort of been quite open about things. And obviously from the Spaniel side, you know, a lot of people, and training side, a lot of people sort of know Jane and things as well. But I think away from the dog industry side as well, you know, people that talk a bit more about the like, not the balance as such, but you know, about sort of the structure and about the different transferable skills and things you can sort of bring in and things as well. Because I think lots of people obviously go in because they enjoy dogs and love working with dogs, but I've had to learn, you know, how to do some of the finances and how to obviously do the marketing, which obviously what you guys are sort of here for and stuff and things as well. So yeah, you have stumped me a little bit on that one.
Well, we have got Charlotte coming on
back
very
to you.
soon, haven't we?
But
So.
there's so many great people, and I think the thing is, everyone is doing something amazing in their business, and everyone usually has some sort of story to tell. So I love just hearing from, just like, if I'm listening to podcasts and stuff, like, I just find it so interesting just hearing about people as well as what they're actually just doing in their business and things as well.
Yeah, it's so true, isn't it? Because you could have two people talking about a similar thing. Like you could have a couple of people talking about niching, but you've brought your story into this, which is very personal to you. And you've mentioned about your little boy and your dogs and how that's affected everything. And then the next person's going to have a completely different story. And I think that's where that human connection bit just is highlighted in podcasts, isn't it? Because, you know, we're all human, we're all individual. Everybody's interested in what you've got to say, even if you think that they won't be. And yeah, I just think we need to just keep celebrating awesome humans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, love it. All right, before we go then, where can everybody find out more about you?
Yeah, sure. So my business is called the Spaniel Guru. So I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and then my website is thespanielguru.com. I've got a little downloadable PDF kind of guide that is just a few tips on how to calm spaniels down and things. But again, from a strategy side of things, that then, you know, goes into a bit of a sales kind of sequence, and then that kind of goes to a call to action to do the membership and things as well. So there's, you know, there's a lot of personal story behind the business, but there's also obviously a lot of strategy and things and stuff as well. Or just on Facebook, I mean, obviously my name, Hannah Antrobus, or just the Spaniel Guru and things. Like, I'm always more than happy for people to message. It takes a little bit longer for me to get back to people now in general with the crazy 1-year-old, but I will get back to you and things as well. So I'm always happy to help if I can. As I said, I absolutely don't know it all, but I'm also learning it's okay to not know it all.
Yeah. That's good too. And also there might be people here that are going, I hate working with spaniels, so I'm going to refer them to you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Hannah.
Crazy feral spaniels my way. That's
all your way. Thank you so much for your time, and yeah, we've really enjoyed today.
Oh, well, thanks you guys so much for having me. And I hope it's helped some of your listeners and things as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, thanks
Thank
again.
you.
All right, guys. Speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.